Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I have some fantastic news. I have some fantastic news of women fighting back against the insanity of allowing male athletes to compete in their competitions. The female athletes from San Jose State University and 4 other schools, I believe, are taking the Mountain West Conference to court. They're taking the conference to court for violations of Title IX. I believe it's 12 of them, taking the Mountain West Conference to court. Let's take a look. A dozen women have filed a lawsuit against the Mountain West Conference and its commissioner, along with officials at San Jose State University. They allege violations of Title IX and of their First Amendment rights, all stemming from the presence of transgender player Blaire Fleming on the San Jose State roster. The plaintiffs, which include San Jose State co-captain Brooke Slusser and 2 former Spartans, as well as athletes from 4 other Mountain West schools, alleged the conference adopted a new transgender participation policy in an attempt to chill and suppress the free speech rights of women athletes. The suit, which is seeking emergency injunctive relief ahead of the Mountain West Conference volleyball tournament set to begin in Las Vegas on November 27, and shout out to Icons, Independent Council on Women's Sports. They back female athletes to seek legal recourse in situations like this, when they've been discriminated against, when they've been made to compete against a male athlete, when they're put in locker rooms with male athletes. Without Icons and organizations like that, without support like that, women would feel they have nowhere to turn to, that they have no options. So Bill Bock, lead attorney for the plaintiffs and the pro-woman organization Icons, which is funding and backing the lawsuit, said the following: the NCAA Mountain West Conference and college athletic directors around the country are failing women. Because the administrators don't have the courage to do their jobs, we have to ask the federal courts to do their jobs for them. This is what I was saying the other day. This conference, the school, all they're doing is hiding behind the NCAA's policy and telling us that they're not breaking any rules. But the fact is, it is their duty to protect these female athletes, to look out for their safety. It is their duty to ensure that their conference is fair, and they know it, but they're choosing to hide behind the NCAA, and they're not listening to the female athletes. And when they hear about how it's affecting the female athletes, their answer is, well, tough. These are the guidelines. We're not breaking the rules. They've given the clear message that the effect this is having on female athletes doesn't matter to them. But they've washed their hands of the situation. Even with all the forfeits, they're still yet to acknowledge that this needs to be addressed, that they may need to rethink their policies and how they conduct their conference. So you see how sneaky they are. It's only when Boise State forfeited that Mountain West decided to introduce this transgender participation policy. Again, to send a clear message. If you speak up and complain, you're going against our policy. And that's going to jeopardize your participation in the conference. Creating this policy to send a clear message that your priority is the male athlete and the participation of the male athlete, all the while threatening the participation of the female athletes. So the policy was introduced in September. The suit alleges Mountain West Commissioner Gloria Nevarez, named as a defendant, believed that the burgeoning controversy around Fleming could lead multiple teams to protest like Boise State. So allegedly, that's why they introduced that policy, to deter other teams from forfeiting, which you could imagine would be quite intimidating to hear of this new policy now. So that means if I speak up and object, I'm automatically in violation of this new policy. This new policy was clearly intended to chill and suppress the free speech rights of women athletes in the MWC, the suit claims. So the suit alleges that this policy was rushed out. They knew it was more than likely that more schools would follow, and they wanted to deter them from doing so. But by rushing out a new policy, a transgender participation policy, that clearly is to suppress people who object to transgender people being in women's competitions. That is clearly saying that you're not allowed to object to that. And people will take that to mean, I can't speak out. So this suit is claiming that that is in direct violation of the First Amendment, suppressing free speech. So when an organization uses its authority to intimidate people, to tell people to keep quiet, that is suppressing people's First Amendment rights. Imagine being afraid to say, I don't want to participate under these conditions. This is not what I signed up for. You would think they had every right to say that, but of course it's inconvenient for Mountain West. Rather than to ask yourself, do they have good reason to want to forfeit? Do they have good reason to object? And thankfully, this policy did not stop 3 other schools within the conference from forfeiting. Wyoming, Nevada, and Utah State all followed suit in refusing to compete against SJSU. All 4 schools that forfeited Mountain West contests are represented in the lawsuit. There were 3 players from Wyoming, 2 players from Nevada, 2 players from Boise State, and 1 player from Utah State named as plaintiffs. The volleyball players in the suit claimed the matches forfeited due to the presence of Fleming should not count as losses because the women were simply exercising their First Amendment rights and the newly enacted TPP should not have passed in the first place. The lawsuit thus seeks an injunction and asks the conference to either disqualify San Jose State from competing in the conference tournament, disqualify Blaire Fleming from competing in the conference tournament, and or remove the losses from the records of teams who protested by not competing against SJSU, and subsequently remove the wins from SJSU. If a judge were to grant the wins and losses adjustment, it would drastically alter the standings and could impact which teams qualify for the Mountain West Volleyball Tournament at the end of the regular season. So if these adjustments were made and the forfeits were not counted as losses, San Jose State would fall from 2nd to 6th place. And if you win the Mountain West tournament, you automatically go on to the NCAA tournament. And Melissa Batie-Smoose, associate head coach, who was suspended after filing a Title IX complaint, is also a part of this lawsuit. And this lawsuit examines the alleged plot between a player from Colorado State and Blaire Fleming. The plot to hurt Brooke Slusser by not blocking for her and to throw the game. As Outkick previously reported, suspended associate head volleyball coach Melissa Batie-Smoose, the only non-player plaintiff in the new lawsuit, claimed transgender Blaire Fleming colluded with Colorado player Malaya Jones to throw the match between the 2 teams on October 3. It's also alleged Fleming and Jones colluded to injure Slusser, who had joined a separate Title IX lawsuit and raised safety concerns about Fleming's participation. The lawsuit outlines several new and very important details about the alleged incident. According to the suit, 3 San Jose State players violated team rules by leaving the team's hotel the night before the match to meet at Jones's residence. So the suit states the following and names some additional players. After the SJSU team got back to campus, student athlete Chandler Minuski told teammates, including co-captains Alyssa Bjork and Brooke Bryant, that Minuski, Fleming, and Randallyn Reeves had snuck out of the team hotel after hours the night before the match, the suit reads. So Minuski was aware that Fleming and Reeves had snuck out of the hotel, and the other girls were telling her that you need to tell the coaches about this. According to Minuski's recounting, they had discussed Fleming throwing the game and how they would set up Jones to blow up Slusser and blast her in the face during the game. Minuski allegedly cried as she told coaches about the incident and asked them not to tell Fleming that she had come forward. Remember Mr. Kress was talking about how this was just a joke? They didn't really mean anything by it. And as of the time of that report, there was no evidence that the school was even investigating this. So we have multiple players who were aware of what was going on. Have they been interviewed? Have they been sat down and told to recount these events? But thankfully, with this lawsuit, all of these details are going to come out because these people are going to have to testify under oath and tell the truth. Okay, so yeah, they go on to say that Todd Kress admitted that the meeting did occur, but he and Colorado State head coach Emily Cohen concluded the players were joking. However, that contradicts Kress's initial reaction to hearing Minuski's account, according to Batie-Smoose. Shortly after Minuski left, Todd Kress told Batie-Smoose he did not believe Minuski and believed she had made up the entire story so she would not get in trouble for leaving the team hotel, the lawsuit says. Yeah, he wouldn't believe her. Inconvenient, right? In my opinion. In addition, following the match against Colorado State, Kress granted Fleming and Reeves the right to not travel back to San Jose State, with the team and allowed them to stay in Fort Collins. This was highly unusual, and when Batie-Smoose asked why Fleming and Reeves were not travelling back with the team, Kress said that Fleming had asked to stay behind in Colorado. The Outkick are still saying that as of now, there still was no evidence that this has been investigated, when it should have been investigated as a matter of urgency. All these schools are bending over backwards to accommodate transgender athletes competing in women's competitions, and they're not looking out for the safety of the women, even when there's a direct threat. And Brooke Slusser said that she hasn't been asked about the incident. She hasn't been updated. They don't even have the decency to update her. Well, because they're probably not investigating it, that's why. There is also no evidence that the players were punished for leaving the team hotel, a violation of team rules. Yeah, because apparently this person gets special treatment. One rule for this person, another rule for the female athletes, as is the case when we hear about these stories with transgender athletes in women's competitions. These organizations bend over backwards to accommodate the male athlete because they don't want to be seen to be discriminating. They don't have a problem discriminating against the women though, do they? So the lawsuit goes on to say, the failure by SJSU, Kress, and Senior Associate Director for Student Athlete Wellness and Leadership Development, Laura Alexander, to properly bring forward corroborated allegations of collusion, throwing a game, and trying to physically harm Slusser, raises an inference that SJSU, Kress, and Alexander sought to punish and retaliate against Slusser for filing the Title IX claims referencing the SJSU team, and/or that they did not wish the allegations against Fleming to be investigated, and/or that they did not want Slusser to be protected against violence. So the four plaintiffs connected to SJSU volleyball team are Batie-Smoose, Brooke Slusser, Alyssa Sugai, and Elle Patterson. They allege the school violated their Title IX rights by showing favoritism towards biological male and transgender athlete Fleming at the expense of the women on the team. One allegation put forth by Batie-Smoose is head coach Todd Kress failed to enforce team policies and discipline towards Fleming on multiple occasions. No surprises there. I really commend these female athletes for joining this lawsuit. So Melissa Batie-Smoose, she did confront Todd Kress about the alleged favoritism towards this transgender athlete. She confronted him about it. So the lawsuit says that Kress responded that because of Kress's alignment with LGBTQ+ individuals, Kress identifies with Fleming and considers Fleming to be facing similar challenges to those Kress believes he has faced. So Batie-Smoose responded with, "What about the team?" and that women as a class had long been discriminated against and were entitled to protection. To which Kress's response was to focus solely on the difficulty of Fleming's situation. In addition, the filing states, Kress has sought to characterize the positions of women student athletes at SJSU who do believe Fleming is disqualified by sex from being on the women's volleyball team as hateful and referred to them in disparaging and vile terms. Kress, when recently asked about favoritism towards Fleming, told Outkick he supports marginalized groups. I've seen too much discrimination with my friends that are minority and immediate family members to not stand up for humanity, social justice, and racial justice, Kress said via text message. Yeah, that sounds like the case of the woke mind virus. What does that have to do with allowing male athletes who have a physical advantage to compete in women's sports? What does that have to do with endangering women by putting them in a match where there's a male athlete who can spike the ball up to 80 miles an hour? What does that have to do with that? So we're allowing women to be discriminated against under the guise of social justice and marginalized groups. A coach knows more than anybody the differences between male athletes and female athletes. He knows, but he's overlooking that to push this ridiculous agenda. So you can give yourself a pat on the back and say you're standing up for trans rights or whatever. When trans athletes have options, they can compete in other categories that are more appropriate. The category that aligns with their biological sex. How about they start there? Or ask for an open category of some kind. None of this justifies endangering women. None of this justifies taking away fair competition from women's sports. Even Serena Williams couldn't beat a male tennis player who was ranked 203 at the time when she was ranked number 1, simply because men and women are different. It's as simple as that. And yet we're going to overlook the categories that we're supposed to play in simply because somebody has an identity. Giving preferential treatment to one group is not going to instill social justice. It's not going to instill fairness for everybody. You're part of the problem. So one of the players, Elle, she said that she transferred to SJSU because Todd Kress promised her that she would receive a full athletic scholarship and be able to play beach volleyball. However, after Elle arrived on SJSU's campus, Todd Kress told her that he did not want any indoor volleyball players to play beach volleyball. In contrast, Fleming was given preferential treatment and allowed to play beach volleyball when Fleming requested to do so, even though Fleming had never played beach volleyball before. So Elle moves to SJSU, believing she's going to have that opportunity, and it's taken away from her. In addition, Patterson claims that she never received a full athletic scholarship from SJSU, which instead went to Fleming. Female athlete misses out on a full athletic scholarship, so it can be given to a male athlete. So after the 2023 season, Todd Kress changed his mind about giving this female athlete a full athletic scholarship and said that it would not be provided to her in 2024. Although missing more of the 2023 season than Elle Peterson, Fleming retained the full scholarship Fleming had throughout the time that Fleming played on the SJSU team. So Kress, along with 2 other SJSU employees, are named as defendants in the lawsuit. And the school has not commented on the lawsuit as of now. So the Mountain West Conference begins November 27 in Vegas. So we shall see. We shall see what becomes of this lawsuit. But I think the main thing that will come out of this lawsuit are the details of what happened. People are going to be exposed. These coaches who are going along with all of this, and all the administrators who are going along with this, the defendants who have been mentioned, their actions are going to be exposed as a result of this lawsuit. I hope they're called to testify. I hope they're called to give account of why they made the decisions they made. Why was the scholarship taken away from the female athlete? What's up with the preferential treatment given to the transgender player while women are losing scholarships and opportunities? We need to be aware of the full extent of what these female athletes have been through. So I commend these women for being a part of this lawsuit, because it takes a lot of courage to come forward and to get involved in this. It really does. And again, thank you to Icons for funding this lawsuit, giving these women opportunities to seek legal recourse. But that's the only way things are going to get done, let's just be real. Because enough is enough. The truth needs to come out, especially when it comes to ploys to hurt female players. And again, if the school's not going to do their job and investigate this, then the court will. How about that? So let me know what you think. I think it's wonderful news. I'm really looking forward to see the outcome of this court case. So take care of yourselves, like, comment and subscribe. God willing, I will see you in the next video.